If you're looking into buying your first home, there's a lot of mistakes that you can make. Now, not to stress you out even more, but these mistakes can also cost you thousands of dollars. Now, as someone who's made over 450 videos educating first-time homebuyers on how to buy a home, I'm going to tell you the top 5 mistakes that most first-time homebuyers make. Now, the number 1 mistake is not getting pre-approved, and not getting pre-approved as soon as possible. Now, number 1 is you want to see what you can actually afford. You wouldn't go shopping without knowing how much money you have in your wallet. So don't look at homes if you don't know how much money you can spend. And on top of that, it also shows the seller that you're more serious. So if you're looking for a home, you find the perfect home, you write an offer, and you're not pre-approved, the seller's not going to take you seriously. So make sure you get that done. And rates are always changing. Right now, they're hovering at around 7%, but in a month, it could be 7.2. So you want to make sure you lock in that rate and get pre-approved as soon as possible. Now, how do you fix this? Number 1, talk to a lender. They'll be able to tell you exactly how much you can afford. But another great way to do it is go to a realtor first. That way they can connect you with their favorite realtors and possibly get you an array of different opinions. Now, number 2 is underestimating closing costs. Now, you might have saved up for the down payment and making sure that your monthly costs are set. Now, that's awesome. But you also have around 2 to 5% that you also have to make up for. So on a $500,000 home, you're going to be paying $15,000 to $25,000 in closing costs. Now, this can include lender fees, escrow fees, title fees, and a bunch of other fees. But the good news is closing costs can be negotiated and covered by the seller. So that's another reason why you want to make sure that you're working with an agent you trust to negotiate on your behalf, so you don't have to pay 2 to 5% or more. You want to pay as little as possible and hopefully less. But a good way to fix this and not have it as a hidden cost is make sure you talk to escrow as soon as possible once you get in to see what that cost is going to look like. And if you want a little bit of extra credit, talk to your lender first, because they'll be able to give you a little bit more of a broad estimate, but it's still better than not knowing at all. And you can also just calculate 2 to 5% of the purchase price, and it'll be somewhere around that range. Now, number 3, thinking that you need 20% down, which is really the biggest myth in real estate. Now, the first part of this is, on average, the first-time home buyer puts 6 to 7% down on their first home. So as you can tell, that's just not even close to being the truth. And number 2 is you can go as low as 3.5% down with an FHA loan. And if you're active duty or a veteran, you can go as low as 0% down with a VA loan. So there's no need for a 20% conventional loan. And even in expensive areas like Irvine, you can still do this. So it doesn't matter where you are in the country or state or really wherever. So make sure you're not waiting to save up that 20%, because 20% now maybe, let's say, is $50,000, but 20% in 2 years is probably going to be $70,000. And realistically, you're not going to be able to save faster than the market can appreciate, if that makes sense. So don't wait until you have 20% down. Wait until you have a comfortable amount so that you can also have comfortable monthly payments. Now, number 4, and the most dangerous one, is waiving the inspection. Now, I get it. When you're buying your first home, you want to save as much money as possible, and that still remains true. However, when it comes to the inspection, you need to not cheap out. The idea is you want to pay a little bit now so you don't pay a lot later. Think about if you go to buy the home, you didn't get an inspection, and there's a roof cost that's $20,000. Number 1, you don't want to pay that. Number 2 is if you did get the inspection, you could have negotiated that for the seller, or you could have backed out before having that $20,000 cost. So, does it make more sense to pay a couple $100s for an inspection to save tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on the home? Or not pay a couple $100 and then in 3 years pay $30,000 to fix your roof? You should pay the $500. How to fix this? Talk to a home inspector, or your agent is going to refer to you a couple of different inspectors that they like and make sure that they do a great job inspecting your potential home. And again, like I was hinting at earlier, this is a great negotiating point and a lot of leverage for you. So please, please, please do not skip out on this step. And number 5, and the one that hurts everyone the most, is waiting to buy. The age-old story I always see is, oh, I almost bought this house 10 years ago for $500,000. I didn't think it would be $700,000, and now it's $1 million. Home prices always go up. Obviously, it ebbs and flows slightly depending on the year, but if you buy a home and own it for 10 years, odds are you're going to make money on it. For instance, if you buy a $750,000 home, which is a relatively starter price here in Irvine, and it only appreciates 5%, you're going to have $37,500 in equity. Now, I'm not saying maybe you're not the best saver, but I would assume that gaining almost $40,000 in equity is going to be a lot easier than you just saving an extra $40,000 a year. And if you're worried about interest rates right now, maybe they could go down, but they also could go up. And if your interest rate goes up just 1%, that could be an extra hundreds of dollars a month. The way I always like to say is if you can comfortably afford a home that you like, there's really no reason not to buy, because I and no other professional, even if they tell you, can tell you what the future holds. So if you can comfortably buy now, don't wait. And as a little fun statistic, NAR, or the National Association of Realtors, just put out a study where homeowners are 40 times more rich than renters. Now, obviously, you have to take into account that if you are able to own a home, you probably have a higher paying job. However, 2/3 of their net worth is due to their real estate. So it shows that the biggest reason, literally, is because they own a home. So if there's any way that you can get your foot in the door of home ownership, you want to make sure you get there as soon as possible. So those are the top 5 biggest mistakes that most first-time home buyers make. Now, if you enjoyed that video, thank you so much. But I do release videos every single Friday on the benefits of home ownership and how to buy a home. So if you enjoyed this week's video, make sure you tune into next week's video. And to do that, make sure you subscribe. But as always, thank you so much for tuning into this week's video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a comment and let me know you did. If you really, really like it, again, consider subscribing, because I do release these videos once a week. But as always, thank you so much. I hope you have a great week. Thank you.